Hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Miss Coffee here, and today we're back with a whip and chat. WIP stands for work in progress. So get out whatever that is for you. Work along with me as I tell you some stories from the coffee house shenanigans. Now I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We had a pretty good weekend here at the coffee house, and we're going to talk about it. But before we do, I have a package. So this package is coming to us from Black Delilah Diamond Art over on Etsy. Now this is a new seller of wax, so I decided to try it out. So we're going to go ahead and crack it open without like doxing myself. We're going to pull all the stuff out of here. So I ordered a couple of different waxes from Black Delilah Diamond Art. We have like a fall collection. And then they do have a Facebook, so if you want to pause to read that, you can go ahead and pause and read that. Got a thank you card, and I got my shipping notification, and it's going to tell me like all the things that I got. So, I got a fall collection bundle, which is these three here. And what else did we get? Dragon's Blood, which is going to be in that case, and then Everyday Collection, which is going to be in the black baggie. So we have a fall bundle. Now, fall for me, what's the first scent you think of when you think fall? For me, it's apples and cinnamon. So, let's see if we can get in here. Ooh, that smells good. We love to smell it. All right. So I think I don't even have to really smell the rest of these. But yeah, I want to use this one. Now, I don't really typically care what my wax smells like because it's not like I'm sitting here huffing it, okay? As long as it works, I don't really care. So you get it in this like geometric shape. And I have a new pen. Well, it's not new. It's got no wax and stuff in it. So I'm going to fill it up with the putty. And we're going to use it today. Now, it was out in the mailbox, and if you did not hear, we did get a winter storm. Yeah, it's fall, and I said winter storm. So we got a winter storm here in North Dakota. We got about 2 feet of snow on Wednesday, Thursday. And so this was in the mailbox for a couple of days, so it was a little cold. But the house, of course, is warm, and I was kind of sitting on it, so, yeah. So we're going to try out this wax today while we do our video. I'm going to try to only use this pen. I have 1 or 2 other pens out, but I'm going to try to only use this pen. I do have this pen out with the April Harris wax in it, but we're going to try to use this pen. So let's see how the wax holds up, shall we? So, like I said, I hope you guys had a wonderful weekend. We had a pretty good weekend here at the coffee house. So let's start off with the fact that you're seeing me and not me and Mr. Coffee. Oh, I didn't put enough wax in on that one side. So I was supposed to do a video with Mr. Coffee. And if you watched the Twitch replay, or if you were over on Twitch last week, you would have heard, you know, Mr. Coffee got injured last week. We're not exactly sure how or what happened, but he ended up in the ER. If you want to hear more about that, it's in the Twitch replay that I put up last week for your whip and chat. So I didn't get a chance to sit down with Mr. Coffee yet. And we didn't get a chance to sit down because we both got really busy last week. So let's start off with last week, Wednesday. So last Wednesday, or last week in general, Mr. Coffee had off work for the entire week. Now, this was not planned. He was technically supposed to have off this week, but he took the last week off because Sunday he woke up and we ended up having to go out to the ER. Well, we were supposed to record, but the medication that they put Mr. Coffee on makes him drowsy, like extremely drowsy. Like literally, it's like you drugged him and he passes out. So because of that, I was unable to record my video with him for most of the week last week. Well, then came Wednesday. Now, we knew we had a winter storm coming, so I had asked Mr. Coffee if he would mind running out to the store to grab us some groceries. It had been a couple of days since he had been to the ER, and he hadn't taken a pill yet. So I was like, you know, could you run out to the store to grab us some stuff to, you know, hold us over during the storm? So he goes, yeah. So we make a list of things that we need, and he runs out to the store. he comes back and he's like, I would really like to put my car in the garage. Now, we do have a 2-car garage. Usually it's just filled with stuff in my Jeep. But every once in a while, when we need to put his vehicle in there, we can clear it out enough to put his vehicle in there. So we did kind of like a spring cleaning of the garage. There was so much stuff in the garage that needed to be thrown out anyways. And so we kind of did like a spring cleaning with it and got rid of a bunch of stuff that we really needed to get rid of, like extra boxes and stuff like that. Like, we were going to keep them for Christmas, but it's kind of pointless at this point. Like, we don't need them. So he went ahead and chucked a bunch of stuff in the trash so that we could fit his truck into the garage. So we get his truck in there. We got all the food and stuff we need. It starts to snow. And then the next morning, it's not a whole lot of snow Wednesday morning when we wake up. It's just it almost looks like a dusting. But it was coming down pretty good. It was coming down good enough that they postponed school by 2 hours. So we had a 2-hour delay for the kids for school on Wednesday. And I was like, oh, okay. So I turned off everybody's alarm, reset them for like 9 o'clock. And I went back to bed. Well, I woke up at 10:30, looked outside, and it was pretty much snowing sideways. Okay? There was a lot of snow. Oh, hold on. I lost the wax. Oh, look at that. I touched it to itself, and it came back. So there was a lot of snow and everything outside, and I was like, wait, let me check to make sure they still have school. So I call up, because I did get an email saying that Orion had been marked absent from school that day. So I was like, well, yeah, because he's here. So I call up the school to make sure that they still had school, and I looked outside again, and I was like, you know what? I don't feel comfortable sending my kids to school today, especially knowing how this is supposed to get worse as the day goes on. I will not be sending my child to school today. And they're like, that's fine. We have a lot of parents that are doing virtual learning. Just have your son sign on to his virtual classroom, and he'll be able to get the lessons and stuff, for the day in virtual classroom. Well, I go upstairs, or I go over to Orion's room to tell him, because I'm still in my room, and he's already in virtual classroom. Like, he already knew the drill, so he was already in virtual classroom. Now, Maggie, her school isn't as high-tech as Orion. So Orion's class, his classrooms all have virtual classroom, which is essentially the teacher recording what they're doing, like the lesson and stuff that they're doing for the day, and like essentially the class is under like being recorded. And so as the class is happening, your child can attend virtually. So that's what Orion did. And why is it that I can't just do this all the time? I don't know. I wish I could, but I don't know. So I'm like, oh, okay, well, he's in class. He's got his headphones on, so he doesn't really see me poke my head in. So I was like, all right, so he's cool. Maggie's still asleep. Now take it. On a day where Maggie doesn't have school, she's up bright and early, 7 o'clock. Morning. Wait, what the hell are you doing awake? Go back to sleep. Okay. She'll go back to sleep, wake back up at like 10 or 11 o'clock. She wakes up because she says she's scared that she has school and she's going to miss, me waking her up. But on the days that she has school, this girl can't wake up to save her life, okay? So I'm sitting there, and I go into her room. She's still asleep. And I was like, well, it's a snow day for them, so I'm just going to let her sleep. So I let her sleep. I go downstairs. I straighten up a little bit. I get Mr. Coffee up so he can walk the dogs. I ask him how he's feeling. He says he's feeling okay for right now. So I was like, all right, yeah, would you mind walking the dogs? He's like, I'm on it. So he goes and walks the dogs. It's, again, snowing pretty heavily at this point, to the point where we couldn't see our neighbor's house. And so I was like, yeah, I think I made the right call here. Pretty sure I made the right call here. So I go on about my day, and I believe that day was a streaming day. So I let them know that I would be streaming. I let folks know over on Twitch that I was going to be a little bit late because I was getting the house settled. Maggie, of course, she has this bad habit of waking up right as I'm about to start streaming. And so as soon as I was getting ready to hit the start button, she wakes up and she's like, Mommy, can you make me breakfast? Sure, Tootsie, sure. And I'm used to it at this point, so I don't even get mad anymore. I'm just like, yeah, sure. Just like we have a maintenance issue that we need maintenance to come for today. And I've waited for 2 hours for them to call me back, and they haven't. And I guarantee you, while I'm recording this, they're going to call. Anyways, we'll see. If I take a pause, you'll know it was because of them. And of course, I'll tell you. Anyways, so we get, you know, I get the kids settled. I stream over on Twitch. I'm having a bunch of technical difficulties. Luckily, the internet wasn't the issue, but it was like my devices and stuff that were giving me issues. So I went and did an update to my OBS, which is the broadcasting system that I use to broadcast my live streams over on Twitch. And it was just giving me all kinds of error codes and everything else, and it kept cutting off OBS and everything. And so I was like, okay, after like a while, because I started at like 10 after 11, and by 3 o'clock, I think I had gotten everything kind of ironed out. So I thought. And then everything worked fine, I believe, for the rest of the stream. And then came Thursday, everything worked fine. And then Friday, everything worked fine. Saturday, I think we had a little bit of a hiccup. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, no, Saturday was fine. Sunday, we had a hiccup over on Twitch, and I was just like, what the flip? We're still working on that one. I'll tell you about that later. So yeah, so I'm sitting there. I stream, and I go, okay, it's time to make dinner. I promised them that we would make loaded bacon potato soup, so we made loaded bacon potato soup. Maggie got to help out. Maggie's like, well, since everybody's off, can we do pumpkins? And I'm like, yeah. So we go to grab the pumpkins. Now, we had planned on, we have 4 big pumpkins, and then we have like 6 little pumpkins just to decorate the porch with. So I'm sitting there, and I go to get the pumpkins off the porch. I go to get the pumpkins off the porch, and they're frozen to the porch. It's gotten that cold outside. And I was like, hun, help? And Mr. Coffee, look, listen, Mr. Coffee's not a gentle person. So he goes outside, and he goes to lift up one of the pumpkins, because of course, because I tell him I can't get it, he thinks, you know, well, you're probably like too weak to get it. So let me manhandle it and get it off the porch. So he goes to grab it off the porch, rips the stem and the pumpkin in half. I'm like, what the flip? So now I have a pumpkin on my porch that the butt end of it is frozen to the porch, and it has no stem, because when he went to go lift it up, the top half of the pumpkin came off, and then the stem broke off, and then the part of the pumpkin that was like stuck to the stem just kind of fell on the ground. And I'm like, great. And I'm just kind of looking at him. He's like, what? You, sir, why? He's like, you asked me to get it, I got it. I'm like, that's not at all what I meant. But okay. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, well, we can decorate pumpkins, but one of them is messed up. And Maggie, of course, it's the one pumpkin that Maggie picked out because it was a weird, like, it was shaped weird. And so, of course, she starts throwing a fit then because Daddy broke her pumpkin. Mr. Coffee's just sitting there like, I was asked to get the pumpkin, I got the pumpkin. I'm sitting there trying to calm down Maggie and tell Mr. Coffee, yes, dear, you got the pumpkin, but you also broke the pumpkin, so we can't use said pumpkin. So we didn't really get to paint the pumpkins because Maggie was too upset to want to paint the pumpkins. Orion has lost all interest in Halloween. Like, he has zero interest in it anymore. He's like, look, listen, I value my teeth and my health, and I can't be bothered. So Orion started weightlifting at school. And because of that, he's been trying to eat a little bit healthier. Not that he's an unhealthy kid, but he's been trying to eat a little bit healthier and move around a lot. And him and I were going on runs and walks. And more for me, it was more so a jog, because I ain't running no more. I'll run my mouth. I ain't running nowhere. So he has no interest this year in going trick-or-treating. He did at first, and now he's just kind of like, yeah, no. So if you have kids, what age did they lose interest in Halloween? Because Orion is 11, and it's just like, nah, homie, I'm good. Not only that, we're going to be in a frost warning. So a frost warning is essentially kind of like, they do it here like an Amber Alert. So they send you an alert over your phone. And they're like, hey, by the way, just a heads up, Halloween night, trick-or-treat night is on Tuesday. Which they don't change trick-or-treat night just because of the, the day of the week it falls on. they will still have you out there on a Tuesday, okay? So trick-or-treating night here is on Tuesday. And hold on. Trying to open my cup, but it's like vacuum sealed shut or something. I don't know. I need my coffee. I haven't had my coffee for today. So they don't stop trick-or-treating just because of the day of the week it falls on. So we were talking about getting the kids as costumes. And Orion's like, yeah, no, I don't want a costume. And I'm like, oh, did you have something in mind that you wanted to dress up as that you already had the costume for? And he's like, no, I don't want to go. And I'm like, wait, what? He goes, I don't want to go. He goes, it's not worth it. It's too cold. And I'm like, you right. In my head, I'm saying you right. But I'm like looking at Maggie, and Maggie's like, I want to be a dinosaur. And I'm like, well, we can't do the inflatable dinosaur. We tried. We bought 2 costumes of this inflatable dinosaur, and they were both too big for her to manage. Like, she kept falling over. Because once you put the air in it, where it's not heavy, it's heavy enough for her to not be able to walk or navigate walking around. Not only that, we would have to put her in the back of the Jeep and leave the Jeep bed open so that she could get in and out, because it's an inflatable dinosaur costume. I can't drive with an inflated dinosaur in my car, and I don't want to blow her up every time we get to a new stop. So they came across and told us that we're going to be in a frost warning for about a week. In this frost warning, they tell you, try not to be outside longer than 15 minutes or run the risk of catching frostbite. So Orion's like, nah, it's too cold, homie. I'm not doing that. Can we do the Halloween that we did a couple of years ago? And I was like, with the cards? And he's like, yeah, where we just play cards and watch a movie. And I'm like, all right, bet. Looked at Maggie. Maggie's like, I want to be a dinosaur. And I'm like, okay, Maggie, look, listen. You can't be an inflatable dinosaur. You can't walk around in the costume. And if she walks around in the house with it, she's just going to tear it up. And to spend $50 or $60 on something that I know is going to get tore up, no. Plus, I just gotten them some Christmas gifts from that shop that Myasia has over on Facebook. She has like these fleece-lined onesies. And so I got each one of the kids one. So I just spent a good portion of money. And I'm like, I'm not about to spend $50 on a costume that you're going to wear through the house, but you're going to also leave it out places and it's going to get tore up, where you're just going to use the air machine that comes with it. I'm like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And she goes, what about just the helmet? And I was like, the helmet? So she apparently went on Amazon, right? She went on the Amazon website, and she found that apparently Amazon has Halloween costumes. Now, typically, my kids aren't on Amazon because they don't really have a reason to. They ain't got no job. What are you on Amazon for? But Maggie had decided that she was going to look on there for Halloween costumes. Well, she finds one, and it's not really a costume. It's just the head. It's a mechanical dinosaur head. Now, this thing was $60, okay? $60 friggin' dollars. And I'm like, ma'am, why? And she's like, I want to be a dinosaur. Maggie, look, listen, mommy loves you. I really do. But $60 for something that you're literally going to play with for 20 minutes and put away, I'm not with it. And she's like, but I want to be a dinosaur. And Ryan's like, no, you don't. You just want it because it's cool now. He's like, look at it in about a week. You won't even like it anymore. And she's like, that's not true. He's like, really? Is that why you had Dad pull all his Legos out of the garage so you could play with them for 20 minutes and then haven't touched them since? She goes, that's different. That's Legos. That's not a mask. I can wear a mask all the time. It'll keep me from getting the Rona. Maggie, nobody in the house has the Rona. She looks over at me and she puts her hand across her mouth and she's like, I don't know, Mama. Orion's been coughing a lot lately. And at that moment, she says that Orion coughs. Like, I don't think he heard what she said because she was whispering. But he coughs and then looks at me. And I was like, you might need that mask. So I go look at it again. And that's $60. Look, listen, I'm still debating. The jury's still out. But Orion has no interest. Maggie just wants candy. She doesn't care about the whole trick or treat thing. She just wants candy. But also, we're about to spend $8,000 on this child's mouth getting it corrected. Do I really want her eating a bunch of candy before this? I mean, she might as well. They're going to be ripping half those teeth out anyways. But still, like, I don't really want to pay $8,000, but give you a last hurrah before you go. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, why don't we do our coffee house Thanksgiving or Halloween? So we're going to play cards and watch a movie. We're going to watch Nightmare Before Christmas because Orion requested that movie and Maggie likes Jack Skellington, so she was like, yes. So I was like, all right, bet. So we're going to watch a movie and play cards. We have zombie exploding kittens. So we're going to play Halloween themed game and watch a movie that's sort of Christmas / Halloween. And that's going to be our Halloween this year. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it for the simple fact of, one, I don't have to worry about the kids getting sick. It's going to be less than 30 degrees outside. And then by the time they go trick-or-treating, it's supposed to be down in the low teens, like 14. And so, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of sending them out in the cold as it is. Like, and it's not like we didn't know it was going to snow, but it's never snowed like this during October. Usually this is like end of November type weather. So because it's like end of November type weather, we weren't expecting it. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay. So I told Mr. Coffee the next time we go to the store, we have to make sure we get Halloween candy. And we're going to sit here and play Uno and zombie exploding kittens and watch a movie. And he's like, oh, sweet. So we don't have to go trick-or-treat. And I'm like, no, your children don't want to go outside in the cold. Maggie doesn't care. She just wants candy. And that was her words, not mine. She doesn't care if we go or not. She just wants candy. So I was like, I can buy y'all candy. Like, candy's like nothing. Like, we can go buy candy. So they already technically have it on sale here. So I picked up like 5 or 6 bags of candy, because then if people do come to the house, we can hand it out. But then also for the kids to have some candy as well. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, so that's a crisis averted, because literally it's supposed to be like 14 degrees with wind and there's a frostbite warning. And they're like, you know, while trick-or-treating, try not to be outside for more than 15 minutes. All right, bet. So you want us to sprint across everybody's yards and house during the icy tundra winter storm we just had and hope to God that we don't slip and fall and hurt ourselves. And then go get candy. Bet. No. No. I'm like, if nothing else, we're also going to take them to go see the lights. The lights are a light display that they put up in the park here. Like, they have like a local park. And in the local park, they'll put up like all kinds of Halloween decorations. And then you'll go in for the fall decorations in November. And then we go in for the Christmas decorations in December, which last year we missed it and I was mad. So this year we're going to make sure to get to it, because it's only like $5 a car. And you can, of course, have as many people as you want in the vehicle, but for the vehicle to pass through, it's $5. And it's just a way for the park to make money so that they can, you know, continue to improve the park. And so I was like, we'll go see the Halloween lights and everything else. So by the time you see this, it'll be Halloween Day here in the States, if it hasn't already passed. If you're watching this on the day that I actually put it up for, like, general public. But yeah, so I'm like, I'm not about to sprint to everybody's house to get candy. And no, that just, nothing about this seems safe. Plus, it kind of made no sense to me to give them Halloween costumes that would be covered with snowsuits so that they can get candy. Like, literally snowsuits, because it's snowing. It snowed. We're expecting more snow tonight into tomorrow. It's already icy as all get up out there. And they're like, yeah, buy your children these Halloween costumes with, like, no pants and, like, little ladybugs that are in skirts. And I'm like, no, thank you. I value my children's health. I don't care if anybody else's kids go out trick-or-treating. That's on you. But if you want to deal with that meltdown that your child is going to have because they're too cold, but you want to have the memories, so you send your kid out there anyways, that is on you. Me personally would rather my children stay in the house where they're safe and secure and warm versus go out and catch heat or catch frostbite. Like that's not a thing I'm down with. So I have no problem with them staying home and just watching movies and stuff. So yeah, so we made that decision. And then for the most part, like snowed in, we were pretty much snowed in until Friday afternoon. And when I say snowed in, to the point where the complex was coming by and clearing everybody's doorsteps so that you could get out of your house, especially if you lived on the side where I live, because we had wind blowing on top of the wind, or on top of the snow. So because of that, the snow piled up on your front door, or at least it did on our front door. It piled up, and then we had to figure out a way to get out of the house to walk the dogs. So we just went out the back door. But doing that, we broke the back door, apparently. So I was like, well, shit. So I had to call maintenance this morning to see if they would come fix the back door. Now, I let them know that I'm not home between 2 and 3. And how much do you want to bet they're going to show up here about 2 or 3? And I'm like, look, listen, cameras activate. Like, y'all better not show up at my house when I'm gone. Like, and I know they will. They always do. Anyways, so, yeah. So, also last week, Mr. Coffee and I celebrated our 14-year wedding anniversary. One, my brain is just, it can't process the fact that I've been with Mr. Coffee for 14 years. It doesn't really feel like it. So, we celebrated our 14th wedding anniversary, and you guys already know, I ask for weird things for our anniversary. So, to stay on par with my normal request, I didn't ask for anything weird, surprisingly. All I asked for essentially was a new wedding ring, because if you didn't notice, I wear a silicone ring. And my silicone ring was like 4 years old. So this rose gold ring, it says love on it right there. So I wear a silicone ring because Mr. Coffee wears one. And until he's able to wear a regular wedding ring, I told him that I would not put on my regular wedding ring. I do have a regular wedding ring. It's going to need to be resized because I haven't worn it in 5 or 6 years. But yeah, it might not though, because I had an issue with one of my rings this weekend. We'll talk about it later. So I asked for a new band. Now these rings are not hella expensive. We get them from Qualo. I think it's Qualo. So it's not super expensive. And so I was able to get my ring. Now he got me other things as well. Like I got a new pair of Skull Candy headphones. So last year, if you were in the live, I think it was Jackie Cashburn was talking about these Skull Candy headphones with the really good bass in them, and I had so much trouble trying to get these headphones, but I finally got a pair because I got them off Amazon. And then they sold out. Like they completely sold out, and they're a limited edition because they're Pride Month. So I was like, oh, sweet. So I was happy to be able to get them, and there's nothing wrong with them, but Mr. Coffee, I guess, came across an ad for the new ones for this year. He's like, how are your headphones doing? I'm like, they're great. Why? He goes, would you want another pair of headphones for your anniversary? And I was like, I guess. I mean, I have another computer I can hook them up to. So like when I stream, I have the computer that I stream off of, and then my PC that I play games and stuff on. So I was like, I guess. So he goes ahead and grabs the headphones, and they're not cheap headphones, like they're expensive. And so I got a pair of headphones, I got a shirt, and I got my wedding ring. So I got what I wanted. The last thing I wanted was something that he would have to do for me. So one of the things Mr. Coffee wanted was a game called Alan Wake 2. It's a new game that came out on the 27th, but was available to play at midnight on the 27th, or going into the 27th. And so my plan was, because I stream on Thursdays, which was our anniversary. He had D&D that night. I had to stream, and I was like, why cancel? We already pretty much did our festivities. We can't go out to dinner or anything because it's snowing and everywhere is closed. It was that bad. And so I was like, why don't we just, you know, do this? And so the other gift was for him to play this game for me, because he played this series 13 years ago when we first got together. He played the first game. It took them 13 years to come out with a part 2. So I was super excited because I loved the first game. So I was like, would you play this game for me? And he goes, yeah. So we wake up that morning and I'm like, oh, you better make sure. I let him sleep in. And then like I made him a nice lunch. And I was like, oh, I'm just getting you prepped and ready. I hope you take a nap. Matter of fact, why don't you take one of your pills and take a nap? Because I'm going to need you to stay awake to play this game. And I was so excited. I couldn't even concentrate on my own stream. I was so excited. So I was like, heck yeah, we're about to play this game. I'm super excited. And it's not a multiplayer game. It's literally just me watching him play this game. And so I was just like, oh, I'm so excited, so excited. So I streamed. Stream went well. I finished stream. And I was like, okay, time for him to play this game. He's excited. I'm excited. We're just sitting there like, let's freaking go, right? So we're sitting there. Sorry, I want to get my 15 placer out because I'm not about to 3-place all of that. That's not happening. And these pins come from Diamond Pin Pal, if you haven't guessed. Except for this one. I think this one came from Enabler's Outpost. But we're sitting there, and we get our snacks, and he bought a pound cake. Like, I didn't realize he had purchased one. Oh, I didn't put any wax in there. I didn't realize that he had purchased one, but he had purchased a pound cake. Now, pound cake is my favorite cake because I don't like frosting. And so, like, a glazed pound cake is, like, my absolute favorite thing, right? And I'm putting some of that putty in this thing. I'm putting it in the multi-placer. She might have given me instructions on the putty, but I, of course, disregard those types of things. So let me just fill this with putty real quick. So he gets the game up and running. It downloads like that morning, but you couldn't play it. So he's gotten it to download and everything. And I'm like, sweet. So by the time I was done with my game, the game was ready to play. Because he was like, yeah, the game was ready EST, not CST. And I was like, oh, snap. So it was ready actually an hour before he actually played it. And he was waiting for me. So I was like, awesome. So we get our snacks. He brings me a piece of pound cake. And he's like, happy anniversary. We exchange cute words and stare at each other lovingly for like 5 minutes. And then he's like, all right, you ready? I'm like, I'm so ready. Y'all, 10 minutes into the game, I passed out. I was so mad. I was so mad. I wake up at 5 a.m. He was like, oh my God, it was so good. And I'm like, you mother... Look, listen. I was upset, okay? Like, you ever go to bed upset about something and then wake up and you're still upset about it? Like, I slept okay, but I woke up irritated as crap. And I was like, yeah, see, no, I don't like this. This was my gift too. And the sad part is I told him to keep playing. Because I knew how excited he was to play the game. And I was like, go ahead and keep playing. I'll find a way to catch up to where you're at. Because I figured other people would be playing the game as well, so I could probably catch it on Twitch or something. And I was right. One of our friends was playing it, and he had just started that, like, Saturday morning. So I did get to watch most of what I missed from Mr. Coffee. I got to watch with our friend Dragon over on Twitch. So I wasn't too upset. But I was still upset about it. And I was like, of course I would fall asleep. I'm making this big deal about this man falling asleep, telling him to take naps and everything else, and then I pass out. Of course I did. So I was like, all right, bet. So I didn't get to watch him play, and then Friday comes, and he's like, what are our plans for today? And I was like, I don't know. So we made like a nice little simple dinner. We don't typically cook on Fridays, but we decided to cook because even though it had finished snowing, there was still a lot of snow on the ground, and nobody had plowed our neighborhood yet. So I was like, Yeah, I'm not leaving the house. I'm not having you leave the house, and I'm not going to make somebody else who's out there, you know, leave their house either. And I'm pretty sure, like, everything's probably still closed. It wasn't, but still, like, no. I don't feel right making people deliver stuff to me when there's, like, a lot of snow on the ground like that. Now, this morning for my Walmart delivery, yeah, I don't have a problem with that because I know how the roads are clear because I was just out there dropping the kids off for school this morning. And even taking the kids to school this morning, this is maybe a 10-minute drive. Took me 30 minutes to get them to school and come back home. So the roads are they're better than in the complex, but they're still pretty bad. And my big thing is I don't want to slide on the ice, so I try to drive really, really slow. As slow as I can without people honking at me, essentially. So Friday, we're sitting there, he's playing the game, I'm watching him play the game, and I'm talking to, like, my mod team over on Twitch. And I'm like, I feel like there's something I'm supposed to be doing right now, but I can't think of what it is. Like, something important. And they're like, aren't you supposed to be streaming in, like, 2 minutes? And I was like, oh, snap! So I jump up, and he's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm supposed to be streaming! He goes, oh, crap, it is that time, isn't it? God dang it! So I get up, go make my coffee, come sit down, I start streaming. I'm like, hey, y'all, I totally didn't forget about stream or anything. Psh, that would be ridiculous. I would never forget about stream. I completely forgot about stream. And since it started getting colder here, I've caught the fiber bug. So the fiber bug essentially is when you get the bug to do fiber arts. So like crochet, cross stitching, knitting, stuff like that. Now I've been avoiding essentially a blanket that I told a friend of mine that I would make for him. I've been avoiding it because it's mostly 310, right? So I've been avoiding this blanket, and I finally decide that I have the willpower to make the blanket. It is time to make the blanket. So, oh, I like the fact that it doesn't stick to your canvas too much. There's a little bit right here, but it doesn't stick too much, so that's good. So I was like, all right, bet. I'm just gonna take my nail and try to scrape off some of that excess wax and putty out of there. I don't want it to be too far down in there, but I also don't need this much. It's one of the good things about having the longer nails. And then we're just gonna put that back on the putty. So any excess would go back on the putty because you don't want to throw it away. It's still good putty. There we go. So yeah, so I'm sitting there and we had a good stream. After stream, Mr. Coffee's still playing the game, so I sat with him and I was like, I'm gonna work on this crochet project because I have the willpower to do it finally. Now this project is black and white only. It is 95% black and then 5% white. So the logo, the guy's face is white, but the actual blanket itself is black. And I've made mostly black projects before. Like I made a Darth Vader Stormtrooper blanket from Mr. Coffee's brother, Uncle Jesse. That was like a few years ago, and so I hadn't felt like crocheting in the longest time, but lately all I've been able to think about is crocheting. So I was like, I'm gonna start this blanket. So I start the blanket and I get a good portion of it done, and then I take a couple of days off and then decide, oh, well, I'm gonna go ahead and do this on stream. So then Saturday, yeah, so I didn't take a couple of days off. I thought I took days off. I didn't. So Saturday, I did the crochet thing, right? So I did it on stream. So I'm going to be doing as much of it on stream as I can until it gets so big that it's unruly and I can't do it on stream anymore. So I decided, because one of my mods was my mod Storm, they were like, hey, why don't you crochet on stream? Because I was like, I don't even know what I want to do tomorrow. And they were like, why don't you crochet? And I'm like, because I want it to be a simple project that I crochet, something I don't have to think about too much, because I'm talking a lot. So because I'm talking a lot, I know I'm going to make a mistake. And they're like, well, you should get good at it so that you can show it. Because I guess they also crochet. So I was like, you know what? All right, bet. I'm gonna try to do it on stream. So I do the first day on stream, and then Sunday we did a bonus stream where I crocheted on stream. And yesterday was just, oh my God. I get on stream, we're working on the blanket, we finally get everything up and running correctly. I'm working on the blanket, we're having a good time, and then like we get a couple of raids, which is when another person brings their community over to your channel. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, bet. Let me go ahead and, you know, work on this blanket. So we're working on a blanket, I go to do my stitch count and realize that I did something wrong because it's not lining up like it's supposed to. It's supposed to have 42 stitches on one side, 45 extra stitches on the outside of the other side of the blanket. But for some reason, I was counting an extra 20 stitches. And I'm like, what the world is going on? Why do I have an extra 20 stitches? So the first thing I do whenever I'm making a blanket like that, I look at the edges. So the edge of your blanket is going to tell you whether you've added or subtracted stitches in a blanket. How is that? Because your blanket will curve up like a triangle if you decrease, but will flare out if you increase. So I was like, okay, so obviously somewhere I added stitches. Now this blanket is 170, is 150 across, 170 up and down, right? Well, when I started the blanket, I was watching Mr. Coffee play the game. And I told him I should work the blanket sideways, and I've only ever done that one time, which is with Mr. Coffee's blanket. But it seemed to work up at a pretty decent rate. So I was like, maybe I should do it sideways to work it up. That way I'm getting the words and the guy's head. Because it just says Denzel Draws at the bottom, and then it's a picture of his head with his hat on. So I was like, I'm just going to do it like that. I'm just going to, you know, crochet it sideways. Well, at some point, I forgot that I was crocheting it sideways. So I got the word draws on the blanket. And I was so super excited at all the progress we had made. When I came back Sunday, I had gotten past the word draw. And we were getting ready to put his name on it. But that's when I realized the mistake. And I was like, wait, there's something wrong. It's not lining up properly. And everybody's like, check your stitches, check the spacing, check the words, check this, and everything's matching up how it should. Have the correct number of stitches. And then it dawns on me as I look at the picture on my OBS, because I have the picture up so that when people come in, they can see what I'm working on. Which, speaking of that, I'm working on Lunar Fox from Crystal Canvas. I'm still working on this canvas. So yeah, so I had I don't know where I was going with that. Anyways, so I had told Mr. Coffee I was going to work on it sideways, but then ended up working on it in the wrong orientation. So that's why I had so many stitches. So instead of doing 150 across, I did 170 across, but then did the 150 way for the words. So there was like 20 extra stitches on one side and the correct number of stitches on the other side. And so I was like, okay, I'm faced with a couple of decisions here. Do I start all the way over? No, this isn't a commission piece. I don't take commissions for them anymore. I just kind of do them out of the kindness of my heart. And I still wanted it to look good. So because of that, I was like, all right. Because I still want it to look good, I'm like, I'm just gonna start it over. So we ended up having to start over the blanket on Twitch yesterday because I made the big mistake on it. But don't worry, don't fret. I'm already back up to the word draws again. So literally the pattern says Denzel Draws on it. And I'm already up to the word draws, which is where I essentially, like, I haven't finished the word. I just started it. I think I'm like 2 rows into the words. But by tonight, I should at least have all of that done. Hopefully. That's a big if I can, like, get the kids settled and everything. Plus, I'll have, like, most of the day tomorrow, I believe, to do it. So, yeah. So there's that. But when it came to Mr. Coffee and I doing our whip and chat, I will answer those questions for the whip and chat. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, watch last week's whip and chat where I asked you to put in the comment section of that video, not this video, that video. If you have questions, put it in the last week's Whip and Chats videos comment section, and Mr. Coffee and I will answer them. So you're going to get the video a little bit late, and I do apologize, but we weren't expecting Mr. Coffee to wake up and not feel good, so that's kind of beyond my realm. But for the most part, like, Maggie bugged for the most part to go outside pretty much all weekend. Even though it's snowing, she wants to go outside, and I'm like, no ma'am, I don't like her being out there when the plows are out there. I've seen too many horror stories of people or of parents losing their kids to the snow plows, and our snow plows are like big cat trucks, so like the big construction trucks, and I think they're called garders or graders. I think they're called graders. So these graders have like this blade on it, like a razor blade, and they use that to scrape all the ice off the road, because we get a lot of ice here, because once it snows, it stays cold, and because of that, everything just freezes. But of course, as people ride over it, it warms up and then freezes again. So these graders essentially take like a razor blade and they just slice the ice off the road. It's really cool to see. Just wouldn't be out there when they're doing it. One, because it's loud, and two, because they wouldn't be able to see you if you were standing in front of their vehicle. Even with Maggie's new cool like reflective jacket, they wouldn't have been able to see her. So I was like, no, you can't go out. They're clearing the roads. Let them do their job. We finally let her out, and then she's trying to go outside in like shorts. She's trying to go outside in this, that, and the third. And I'm like, ma'am, please stop it. Well, then Saturday, I remembered, oh snap, the kids don't have snow boots. That was one of the last things that I was supposed to get that I forgot to get, because I wasn't expecting the snow to be this bad. And by the time we found out it was supposed to be this bad, it was too late. It was too late for me to go get them snow boots. So Orion had to stop walking the dogs, and I told Mr. Coffee, I'm like, if you want him to start being able to walk the dogs again, we need to get him winter boots. So he said, fine. So Saturday, as I streamed, he took the kids out to go get winter boots from Home of Economy, because that's the only store around here that carried them that weren't like Walmart brand. And where I don't have a problem with Walmart brand, it doesn't last very long with my kids, and they tear it up real easy. So I wasn't about to go spend like 50, 60 bucks on shoes to have them tear them up in like 3 weeks. So I was like, take them over to Home of Economy, especially seeing as how technically Maggie has 2 pairs of snow boots. And Orion, he had one from last year, but if you remember, Orion's gone up 2 shoe sizes since last year. So because of this, because he's gone up 2 shoe sizes, he couldn't wear the ones from last year. So Mr. Coffee took them out to go get snow boots. So they got snow boots now. Orion loves his snow boots. Like, he immediately came home and started like going to walk the dogs. And because that's really the only time he would need to go outside is if he's walking the dogs. So he went to go walk the dogs, and Maggie's just stomping around the house in her boots. She's just wanting to show everybody her boots. And Mr. Coffee was like, he messaged me while he was there. He's like, would you like some chicken nuggets? Because I'm about to go to McDonald's. Now, I don't typically eat McDonald's. My lack of a gallbladder is like, no, ma'am, that's not something you should be eating. And so I was like, chicken nuggies? All right, bet. So I had him get me some chicken nuggets. They came home while I was still streaming, and I streamed a little bit longer, and then I got off, and then he made spaghetti for dinner. So if nothing else, now all they need is gloves, because Maggie still has her hat from last year, and Orion has a hat from last year as well. And his head hasn't gotten any bigger, thank God. So I didn't have to really worry about like a baby hat or anything like that, because he's an adult. He kind of wears like adult clothes now, so like having to worry about all the baby stuff is no longer. So he pulls out his winter hat and stuff, and he's just like, you know, I have a winter hat, but he didn't have gloves. So today's mission when they get out of school is to take him over to go get gloves, because Maggie has gloves, Orion doesn't. So Maggie still has the purple gloves that I think it was her 3rd or 4th grade teacher gave her. I think it was her 4th grade teacher. Her 4th grade teacher gave her a pair of purple gloves because one day she came to school without her gloves on. And I believe it was like a couple of days after I had gotten hit by the car or something that year. and she had forgotten her gloves yet again, and the teacher wanted her to be able to go outside, but they can't go outside without gloves on. Maggie was upset because all of her friends were going outside, so the teacher gave her her gloves and told her she could keep them. Surprisingly, it's the only thing that Maggie can keep up with in this entire house. And so, like, the fact that she still has them is astonishing. This is some good putty. Don't worry, I will have a link down in the comment section below, or not the comments, but the description box of the video, giving you the link to Black Delilah Diamond Art so that you can try out some of the putty. Do keep in mind this is a new shop, so take it easy on them. So yeah, so it's just been a crazy week here. I kept the kids out of school Wednesday. They called off school Thursday and did all virtual learning. Friday, the kids weren't supposed to have school anyway because I don't know what. We had parent-teacher conferences last week, but we never got to do them because of the storm. So they're going to reschedule those. And yeah, it's just been keeping busy, doing a lot of crocheting. And that's essentially what, you know, we've been up to for the last week. So it's been a crazy week. I'm excited too because I'm excited to get back to this blanket, which is what I'm going to do right after I'm finished with this. I'm probably going to get back to this blanket. So yeah. So it was a pretty good weekend here. We didn't get to paint the pumpkins like I wanted, but we'll probably do that tonight or tomorrow. We have to make sure that they're not frozen to the porch, so we're going to probably pour some hot water on them. And where they sit at on the porch, there's just a bush underneath them. So if nothing else, the hot water will hit the bush, warm it up for a little bit before it freezes. And it's a bush, so I don't really care. Nobody really walks right there because there's a whole bush there. So I'm just going to pour some warm water on it just to release them from the porch so that we can paint them. Because we decided, as a family, we've decided that we're going to do Among Us characters for the pumpkins. So we're going to just paint Among Us character colors on the pumpkins. Mr. Coffee and I are going to draw the characters on there, and then the kids are going to fill it in with paint markers. So that is how we're doing our Thanksgiving. Why do I keep wanting to say Thanksgiving? That is how we're going to be doing our Halloween this year. So no carving pumpkins. One, because I want them to last a while, and two, because why are we carving them when we can paint them and they'll last longer? You got to get your money's worth nowadays. But yeah, so Orion's no longer interested in Halloween and trick-or-treating, so we'll be doing at-home stuff. Maggie just wants to be a dinosaur. She doesn't really care about anything else. We're getting ripped and ready to... I need to call... That's the other thing I need to do today is I got to call for Maggie's 3D ultrasound for her face so that we can get the process started of getting her retainer and stuff put on and having her surgery and everything. Part of me wants to wait until after the holiday season. Then the other part of me is like, no, we need to jump on this now. She'll be fine for the holidays if we get it done in, you know, a reasonable amount of time. And then the last thing I have to worry about is Mr. Coffee's birthday. So Mr. Coffee's birthday is on Sunday. And I want to do something special for him, but I'm going to need your help. So as you guys know, or if you're new to the channel, hey, I'm Miss Coffee. Mr. Coffee is originally from New York. Technically, he was born in California and then raised in New York, right? From like age 3 up until like 16. So something like me, except for I was in a military family, so we moved around a lot more places before we settled in South Carolina. So of course, Mr. Coffee's favorite dessert is, can you guess? If you guessed New York style cheesecake, you are correct. Now, I ain't never made no cheesecake before. So if you have a wonderful recipe to cheesecake, please leave a link or the recipe or something. If you're in the Discord over on Twitch, for Twitch, if you're in the Discord, leave it in the food section of the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, which I will make sure to put the Discord link in the description box of the video, along with Black Delilah Diamond Art's putty and like the canvas and stuff. So if you're in Discord, put it in the food section. If you're not in Discord, like, leave a link, or if you're comfortable leaving the recipe in the comment section of this video, leave a comment, please. I want to make a cheesecake for Mr. Coffee for his birthday. The problem is I've never made a cheesecake before a day in my life. I don't even like cheesecake. But I want to make him a real New York style cheesecake for his birthday. I don't do cake, so he always makes sure I get a pound cake. So this year I don't want to buy a store-bought cheesecake, because he's always just like, this is disgusting. So I want to make him like an original, like an authentic cheesecake. Because if y'all remember, he's done this for me before, where he's made me a peach cobbler. Do we remember the peach cobbler? He didn't like it, but he made it. He called my stepmom and asked her for her recipe to make this for me for my birthday like 2 years ago. So I want to make him a cheesecake. So write your recipes for cheesecake either in the Discord or in the comment section here. You might help somebody else out who wants a cheesecake recipe as well. So as long as you're comfortable with sharing your recipe, feel free to leave it down in the bottom of this video in the comment section. And maybe for Mr. Coffee's birthday, I might successfully make a cheesecake. So yeah. So with that said, I'm going to finish off this last little section here, and then I'm going to go back to my crocheting stuff because I'm in a good spot with it. And I believe I can get some more done before I have to go pick up the kids, which I'm dreading because I don't really want to be out on those roads. Don't want to be out there. The good thing is it's not snowing. They're predicting more snow tonight until tomorrow, which tomorrow for us is Halloween. If you are going trick-or-treating with your littles, please be safe. Be careful out there. Watch for cars. You know, the whole rigmarole. If you do not celebrate Halloween, well, I hope you have a wonderful day. So yeah, so putty review. I like the putty. It doesn't stick to your canvas as much as a normal sticky putty does. It's not super stringy. So like when I go to put the drills down, it's not stringy. It doesn't have that pop that everybody likes. At least I haven't heard it. Oh, okay, there it is. It's a little pop. It's a little pop. It's not a big pop. It's a little pop. So if you can hear it, it's just the slightest little pop. But it's good putty. I would say it's definitely worth giving a try. And I'm a hard presser, and so typically putties don't work very well for me. But I'm able to use this one. It's actually trying to steal my drills. Apparently it really likes them. So that is all I have for you today, folks. Thank you so much for coming by and checking me out here on YouTube. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We're going to be trying to get to 50K here soon, and we're real close. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to interact with this video to help others like you that would like to find the channel and have some crafty good times with Miss Coffee as well. But with that said, I must now bid you adieu, but not before reminding you that it's hard out here in these crafty streets. Please stay safe and always remember to be kind to others because you never know what somebody else is going through. Be courteous because it's the right thing to do, and always stay cool. And whether I see you in YouTube land or I see you on Twitch, either way, I'll see you when I see you. Bye, guys.